What did he do? Well, he was the first to actually ask the question we've been asking: where is that proto-Qur'an? Where is that Ur-Qur'an? Where is the archetype that Van Putten talks about in our first episode? He was asking that question in 1970s. We're talking about 50 years ago. And he wrote this thesis. This thesis was awarded the Opus Eximium. Let me read it right to say it right. Opus Eximium. Opus Eximium is the highest you can get for any thesis there in Germany. Well, he was the first to actually ask the question we've been asking: where is that proto-Qur'an? Where is that Ur-Qur'an? Where is the archetype that Van Putten talks about in our first episode? He was more interested in where did this Qur'an come from?
Welcome to Events and History, where we explore the origins, teachings, and historical development of Islam with a fact-based, analytical approach.
For over 1,000 years, Muslims have believed the Quran to be a flawless Arabic revelation, untouched, unaltered, and purely divine. But what if its earliest layers tell a different story, one that traces back to ancient Syriac Christian hymns? In this episode, Al-Fadi and Dr. J. Smith revisit the explosive discoveries of German scholar Günter Lüling, who uncovered evidence suggesting that large portions of the Quran may have originated from pre-Islamic Christian liturgy. His findings disrupted the standard Islamic narrative and raised so much tension that he was silenced, his academic career destroyed, and his work buried for decades. Yet his research refused to die, inspiring later scholars like Christoph Luxenberg and Gabriel Sawma to continue the search for the Quran's hidden origins. What were these hidden texts, and why were they so dangerous to reveal? Prepare to dive into the academic world's most silenced debate, the real origins of the Quran.
Hello everyone, this is Al-Fadi and I want to welcome you to another episode of this fascinating video series on the possible origin of the Quran. You've heard us a couple of times make reference to what we call the prototype Quran. Well, today we are going now to begin to address what is meant by the prototype. Of course, with me here in studios, no other than Dr. J. Smith. Brother, welcome back as always. Tell us a little bit more about the prototype Quran, and you've whetted our appetite when you began to give some backgrounds concerning some possible Christian sources as well.
Okay, so we talked about in one of our episodes this guy named Umar, and we talked about the fact that this fellow priest named Gabriel is the one that gave him what we now know today is the Diatessaron, and that either his relationship with Gabriel or because of the text he was reading that was given, he then went from his strident Judaism and he became a Christian, so that by 647 he even coined a coin with possibly his image holding a cross on it, and he has the word Muhammad, the praised one, referring to possibly Jesus Christ. Now, what are we finding? Well, this was the German school who has been really unpacking this, and one of the things I want to do today is I want to introduce these two books right here. This book here is called A Challenge to Islam for Reformation, which is a terrible title actually to tell you the truth, but it's the other text that's underneath that's actually what it's all about. Let me just read it. It says, the rediscovery and reliable reconstruction of a comprehensive pre-Islamic Christian hymnal hidden in the Quran under earliest Islamic reinterpretations.
So it's a book about the Quran, really. I mean, the big title make you think like you're talking about reforming Islam. You're talking about the Quran here. And I encourage everybody to get this book. It's an amazing book.
Yeah, because who is it that authored this book? This was created in 1970 by a man named Dr. Günter Lüling. Dr. Günter Lüling was a German scholar who wrote a PhD thesis, and this is his PhD thesis. Now, it was written in German. You can see it's a pretty long thesis. What did he do? Well, he was the first to actually ask the question we've been asking: where is that proto-Qur'an? Where is that Ur-Qur'an? Where is the archetype that Van Putten talks about in our first episode? He was asking that question in 1970s. We're talking about 50 years ago. And he wrote this thesis. This thesis was awarded the Opus Eximium. Let me read it right to say it right. Opus Eximium. opus eximium is the highest you can get for any thesis there in Germany. If you get opus eximium, you are automatically given a professorship in the institution.
To teach.
To teach.
Yeah.
You're given a professorship. He was not given a professorship.
Why is that?
Well, in 1972, 2 years later, he was thrown out of the university.
Wow.
No one told him why. They would not explain it to him. I went to see him in I think it was 98 or 99. I went to Germany. I went with a colleague of mine. We went to actually see Dr. Gabriel. Dr. Gabriel wanted to introduce me to him. So we went and we had lunch with him, and I met he and his wife. And what I had been told is that he was thrown into obscurity because of this thesis. This is in 1972.
Is it that much dangerous?
He was thrown into obscurity, and for 30 years he was on welfare. No chance of getting into any university system, no chance of being a professor. In 1999, when I met him, we said, well, could we see this thesis? And so he showed it to us. It's all in German, and I don't speak German. I said, well, can we get this translated into English? He said, well, I've already translated it to English. I said, well, give it to us. We would like to then rework it so that it's readable, because when I started reading it, he had one sentence 400 words long, as Germans tend to do. 400 words. By the time you get to the end of the sentence, I couldn't even remember what we started out with. So we took it back. He said, give it back, and we took it back to London, and we pared it down using German speakers who understood, still academic material, but they understood how to bring it down to so people like you and me can read it. And then we gave it back to him, and he sent it, and he wanted to get it published. He got it published in India. So this is published in India. That's the only place that would publish it. You can see this is obviously, this is by Motilal Banarsidass Publishers in Delhi. They published it for him. Get this book, because you're not going to find many copies left anymore. I'm saying every one of you grab this book. You can still get it on Amazon.com. There's still a few copies left before this becomes a treasure trove. Because what he did was very simple. He said, if we cannot understand a lot of the meaning of the Quran, there's about 25% of the Quran you can't even understand. But he was more not interested in that. He was more interested in where did this Quran come from? Because it didn't just come out ex nihilo, out of somewhere. And he also said a lot of this stuff looked like it's borrowed. In fact, he started looking at the poetry, the beautiful poetry that Muslims say, how could a man who can't even write such beautiful poetry? And he said, well, that's true. I've seen that poetry before. Now, see, he was a Syriac scholar. And so what he did is he decided to take off the dots. Remember we talked about the dots?
Right. So he went backward, basically, took the dots off.
He took the dots and he took the vowels off. He took the dhamma, the kasra, and the fatha, and the harakats.
Right.
The dots, the 2 dots, 3 dots, 1 dot, 2 dots below. So he took them all off and just went back to the
rasm, the structure.
rasm.
Yeah, and he called it the 3 layers. So he eliminated layer 2 and 3 and went down to layer 1.
And guess what he found?
He began to find hymnal.
Christian hymns written in Syriac by Christians in their churches for worship in the 5th and 6th century, almost strophe for strophe, line for line, exactly like those Christian hymns, all written in Syriac. Can you see why this is so controversial? Can you see why
Especially
this
back
is so
then,
damaging?
of course, yeah.
Absolutely. In Germany, they would not stand for this, and they threw him out, completely threw him out. Now, because of what we did, Thomas was telling me when a number of months ago, when I was Thomas Alexander, who I have as part of the Sin Sifters. He is one of the group. He's the German representative for the Inara group. He was saying because of this English translation that we had translated in the late 1990s, in the early 2000s, this was now, I think, 2007, this was finally published in English. He said that has resurrected him. That resurrected him in the academic world. So by 2014, when he finally died, he has now been resurrected because of this English translation. Because this is what people needed to hear. They needed to know. Now, he is not the only one that has done this. Because of what he did in the 1970s, Christoph Luxenberg then came and did this in 2000. This takes it one step further. He decided, well, why haven't we done this in academia? Let's find out where the dark passages are. Because the dark passages, you know well, when you grew up, the Muslim scholars, about 25% of the Quran just makes no sense, even to the Muslim scholars.
Yeah, it's about 1/3, give or take.
About 1/3.
Yeah.
And there are these letters before each one of the surahs. No one knows what those letters are
The
for.
mysterious letters, for
It's a
instance.
mysterious letter. We're going to talk about that later on. So he wanted to go through and do that. This book came out in 2000. This has caused an enormous earthquake.
Oh, I remember. I mean,
scholastic
everybody went
circles.
after him.
They all went after him. In fact, his name is not Christoph Luxenberg. That's a pseudonym. He had to use a pseudonym. He is from Germany, and he had to use a pseudonym because there are so many people that would. He got death threats, and this is what happens when you do something that is controversial in Islam.
Do you know him?
I have never met him.
Yeah.
I do not know him. I don't even have a picture of him.
Right.
But do you know him?
I know of someone who is connected with him for sure, and he's definitely an amazing scholar for sure.
Now, because of what these two men have done, Gabriel Sawma came out with this book, and I would encourage everybody to get it. In 2006, Gabriel Sawma, who is a Syriac scholar, he is a Syriac native speaker. This is his language. He understands it, and basically what he is saying is, we've been trying to tell you this for years. You people in the West, have you not been listening to us? If you look at the Quran, where do you think it came from?
That's a very interesting point you bring up. Why is it that the scholars in the West just somehow discount the people in the East who are so close to the action?
Because of what the people in the East have been trying to tell us. The Syriac scholars have been saying, folks, you don't want to listen to us. This really, the Quran, if you really want to know what the Quran is, you need to go back to the Quran. You need to go back to the archetype. You need to go back to the proto-Qur'an.
Exactly.
And who do you think knows it better than anybody? Well, why don't you ask us who know the language?
Right.
We are the Aramaic speakers. We are the Syriac speakers. We are Syriac Aramaic. That is what this is called. The Syriac or Aramaic precedents, antecedents to the Quran. So I would encourage every one of you to get Gabriel Sawma's book, because this is just, listen, this has been out since 2007. We're just finally getting our hands on it and finally telling the whole world. Find out what he is saying, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to go in the next segment, and we're going to show you. In fact, what I'm going to do, instead of doing Gabriel Sawma, I'm going to show you what Christoph Luxenberg, how he came and what he did. In the next segment, let's look through, because he did 7 different things.
Before we even get there,
conclusions.
we want to address the academic attack.
Okay, let's do that first.
Yeah,
let's do that first.
Let's talk about that, because we want to show, after the academic attack, what is it that they were attacking in the first place, and does his method make sense?
Yeah.
Dr. J, you brought up, the work of Christopher Luxenberg, and if you want to maybe show people which book we're talking about,
right here.
And the title, if you want to read it for people.
It's called the Syro-Aramaic Reading of the Quran. Please get it if you do have a chance. It's on Amazon.com. Grab it, get it, keep it in your library, because it's soon going to be out of print.
Yeah. So tell us about the academic reaction to this.
Well, not just this. I want to even go one step further. I want to talk about the academic reaction to this.
That's two.
Because this preceded that, and that's why Christoph Luxenberg had to do a pseudonym, and that's why you don't even see his picture anywhere.
Right.
There is pictures of Günter Lüling. He, when he did his doctoral thesis, he got an opus eximium, which is the highest you can get in Germany for any doctoral thesis, which had given him an automatic professorship. He did get none of it. He got thrown out of the university and was sent to obscurity for 30 years until the English version came out, and because of the English version, he now has been resurrected. Because once you get into English, it gets all over the world, and that's one reason why we're doing what we're doing.
Right.
There is something about academia that they are scared to death of anybody that rocks the boat. They are scared of anybody that says anything that goes against the standard Islamic narrative. The standard Islamic narrative, when you look in here, you can see no one wants to change that narrative. And this is the question I want to come up with. Why is it that the Germans had to throw him out of the university? Why is it that Christoph Luxenberg has to change his name?
Right.
And why is it that no one has yet refuted Christoph Luxenberg's thesis?
Yeah. I mean, what is it that these gentlemen did, other than just pointing out that there is a possible Aramaic origin, and they proved that their thesis actually sticks?
Well, I asked this of Anthony Alexander. I wanted to find out, because he represents INADA. He's part of the INADA group there in
Thomas,
Germany. Thomas, did I say Anthony?
Yeah.
I mean Thomas Alexander. And Thomas Alexander said, Jay, there's a real problem, not just in Germany. This is happening in France. It's happening in Britain. I know it's happening in Britain because I was part of it. I got censored. When I was there in the 1990s, I would go to university after university, and I would do all the debates for the Christian unions, who are all being challenged by the Islamic societies on all these different universities. You name it, I've been there. I've been to the Durham University. I've been to Oxford, Cambridge Union. I've debated on both those unions. I've debated in Manchester, and I've been all over London in King's College. All these places I have had debates, until 2010. In 2010, I became an Islamophobe. Overnight, I was targeted as Islamophobe, a hate preacher. And immediately, as soon as I got those two names, no other university was allowing me to come in. That's all Muslims had to say. He's an Islamophobe. Now, why is it Muslims are doing this? And why is it this is unique to Islam? There's no Christianophobe or Hinduophobe or Sikhophobe or Westernophobe. We don't have any other phobes except for Islam.
Right.
That word only exists in Islam. What does that suggest to you?
Well, I mean, it suggests to me, unfortunately, a reaction, weakness in defending many of these evidence or theses. And the only drawback here, or fallback, I should say, is to try to just shut, the opposition completely.
It suggests also exactly what you're saying, that there's something about what we're bringing to the table that they don't
Irrefutable.
They don't want to be in public.
Right.
They don't want to get out. You only censor something that you don't like, or censor something that will hurt you, or that will shut down everything that you believe in. And remember, the Quran is sacrosanct for all Muslims.
Right.
Without the Quran, there is no Islam.
That's true. And I read these books, and the scholars and the authors never attacked Islam. There isn't a single attack in there.
There's nothing phobic about it.
Exactly.
There's no hate in any of it. This is called textual criticism. Isn't that what has been done with the Bible since the 1800s?
Oh, my goodness, Muslims always brag about Bart Ehrman and this and that. I mean, so we don't call it, Christianophobic,
Is there anybody that's put death threats on Bart Ehrman? Did they put death threats on Wellhausen when he came up with the documentary hypothesis in the 1800s, or the school in Tübingen in Germany, which came up with the whole historical critique of the New Testament and the Old Testament?
Right.
Has there been any death threats or any censorship of anybody that started asking these questions? Is that done? Can you show me of any example where Christians are doing that, or Jews are doing that, for anybody that confronts the Old Testament or the New Testament?
Of course not. And why would you do anything like that to scholars who are just doing their job?
So this is unique to Islam. I don't know of any other area of research, whether it's in science, whether it's in the humanities, whether it's in the biblical studies, that where we have censorship and call people Islamophobes or Christianophobes. That just doesn't exist. In fact, it makes no sense to even use that phobic title, because phobic means fear of.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be a psychological code then. I mean, is there a treatment for this? What is the treatment for this? Is
Well,
it diagnosis,
The treatment is read the book. Just read the book, and rather than attack the person, attack the book. So I asked Thomas Alexander, so what rebuttal has been done to Christian, or even this one, but I said, since this is more famous right now, what rebuttal has been there? He said the only rebuttal that he can find anywhere is basically attacking Christoph Luxenberg. And what are they attacking?
Ad hominem, basically.
It's ad hominem, but what is it that they're attacking about him? They're attacking the fact that he is now confronting the standard Islamic narrative.
Right.
That's the only thing they can come up with, and that his opus operandi is not giving something in return.
So,
in other words, he's not replacing it with anything. And I'm saying, hold on a minute, he does. He's replaced it.
he did. The title says it all.
The title says it right there. This title, if you look at the subtitle, it says it very there. These are
That's right.
Christian hymns.
That's right.
These are lectionaries. He has replaced. He said, this is the original text. So you cannot really attack him. So I said, there must be something more than that. They said, what they usually do is, rather than even try to confront his material, what they do is they find one place where he has made a mistake, or one idea that he has made a letter wrong, or they have got, and then they use that and say, therefore you can't trust the man. That's called nitpicking. And you can do that with any scholar.
Absolutely. And it's pretty sad, really, because you would expect the field of academia to allow you freedom to share things in a respectful manner, of course. I mean, I don't endorse the idea of attacking people and calling names. That's not what this work is about. But to come up with wild ideas and try to back it up, what's wrong with that? Isn't that what research is all about?
Yeah. Now, we get this all the time. Listen, I remember sharing with you last night where a number of years ago, I got mutawafika mixed up with muatafika. I put the
Mutawafika, yeah.
I said, instead of saying mutawafika, I said muatafika. Yeah. And I had a scholar, even a Christian, he was a Christian, who shut me down and attacked me and says, how can you trust Jay? Every scholar makes a mistake. Case in point. the Muslims all over the internet right now are putting up all these videos against me because I said way back in 2000 that one of the most dangerous men of Islam was a guy named Zakir Naik. And I said that in the 2000, actually it was the 1990s. I said this in 1997 when I said that. In 1997, he was our most dangerous advocate. That was before we knew about Shabir Ali, before we knew about Adnan Rashidi and all these other characters.
Right.
That was before Muhammad Hijab probably was even born. And back there in 1997, if you look at me, I'm quite a bit thinner and I don't have a beard and I look quite a bit different. You need to put it in the context of what we're talking about. But they're saying, see, Jay he's completely off the water. How can you trust anything he said? Because he said Zakir Naik is the most difficult man. Well, this is typical of when you don't have any material, when you have nothing to confront the person, what they're saying, you need to then confront their image or you confront their character. Ad hominem is the word you used.
That's
and
right.
ad hominem is the only thing they have against Christoph Luxenberg. It's the only thing they have against Günter Lüling.
Right.
Can you see how easy that is to do? So what I'm asking any Muslim scholar, if you have a problem with Günter Lüling, if you have a problem with Luxemburg, can you please write up where is the problem with his thesis? Because what we want to do is I want to go through his thesis and I want to show you exactly what he has done. When you realize the steps he took to get to where he's at, confront those steps. Then we will listen to you.
That's a good segue because next time we are going to talk about, I think it's called the 7 steps.
The 7 steps.
That's what we are going to talk about, which is the 7 steps that Luxemburg used in his book. Until next time, have a blessed day.
What we've just uncovered shakes the very foundation of Islamic history. If Günter Lüling and the scholars who followed him are right, which they are, the Quran isn't an Arabic revelation at all, but a reshaped collection of early Christian hymns rewritten into a new religious framework. It's becoming clearer that the Quran wasn't born in Arabic Mecca, but rewritten from an earlier Christian source. The implications are staggering. The evidence, linguistic, historical, and textual, continues to challenge the traditional story of Islam's origins. Yet rather than engage with the data, many institutions have chosen silence, censorship, or denial. But truth has a way of resurfacing. Every suppressed question, every buried manuscript, and every banned book brings us closer to understanding what really happened in the birth of Islam. The debate is far from over. It's only just beginning. Thank you for watching and for seeking truth. Join us next time as we uncover what the standard Islamic narrative on the Islamic Awareness website is hiding regarding the origin of Islam. Like and share this video so others can see it. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more Islamic history content. Jesus is Lord.